Hey guys, welcome to the Two Hippies, One Drunk podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in again. We are currently traveling the country and your support means the world to us. This is all self-funded, and if you want to help us grow the podcast and continue to do what we do, there are a couple of ways you can do that. Cash donations are always very much appreciated. We couldn't be doing this without your help, and every little bit counts. Another way you can help is by reviewing us and rating us 5 stars on iTunes. This massively increases our visibility and helps people find us. Lastly, another way you can help us is by subscribing to our Two Hippies, One Drunk Facebook page and sharing our short videos that we've been making. We release content every day, and it's a great way of interacting with us and helping us grow. All right, and with that, let's kick off the show for this week. Sorry. Just a second. and
now let's kick off the show.
A rare time where my voice was too quiet, apparently.
Yeah, I was just realizing that was, I didn't know why, it wasn't your guys' fault, but I was sitting there like, it doesn't need to be on this table. We had to move the mic up a little bit. Yes. Hey, this is the Two Hippies, One Drunk on the Road edition. We're coming to you live from Memphis, Tennessee. And this week we'll be covering our time in Knoxville, as well as Knoxville, Tennessee, and Louisville, Kentucky. All right, so where we left off, we were in Gatlinburg. I was going home to visit my parents for a little bit. These guys were going to stay at a KOA a little bit north of Knoxville. And we're not really going to talk too much about my time at home. It's not that big of a deal. If at this point, if you're friends with me on Facebook, you saw that I saw my cat, and that's really all that matters. So
yeah, that was the message I got when I read your post. It's like family, friends. No, my cat.
Tony was very anticlimactic, as most cats do. So, you know, in the end, he didn't really seem to care that I was there, but I cared.
A dog wouldn't have done you like that.
No, they wouldn't have. But that's okay. I like people that earn the love. I don't like dogs are whores, and cats make you work for it.
Agreed.
So also on our end, we probably don't have too much to talk about either, because both of us got pretty sick the whole time Eric was gone.
Yeah, pretty much did nothing. I went on a few hikes, checked out a little bit near where we were in Knoxville. We didn't even go downtown Knoxville.
We got there the first day, like fired up, ready to go. Like I remember, spent a couple of hours researching and calling open mics and comedy clubs and just having all of this shit planned out. And then the next day, just getting hit with it bested awful cold and at worst COVID.
Yeah, that's very much the case. And then we left there, and apparently they decided that we were shitting on their sheets.
Right. So I get a call right before I'm out. What a lovely call to receive as I'm packing up, ready to make a flight back. From the place that I had gotten for my two buddies here was charging me $95. Yeah. For extensive damages to the room, which does, in my mind, damages mean you broke something. Yeah, I do think I should say this: when you're staying at these KOAs and you have a cabin, there is a cleaning service. It is almost like a hotel at that point. Yeah. You should, I think you definitely should clean more than a hotel, and for the most part, I tend to like sweep things up and stuff like that. But you are allowed a cleaning service. It is not like when you're camping on a property where it's just grass and tents. You're supposed to, like, they tell you, you should not leave your campsite when you're in a tent situation with anything on it. Yeah. There should be like maybe in a bag.
Yeah. That you're like kind of posed. Area. Yeah. And honestly, in my opinion, when we found this out, we were given the runaround by this place, for one, because they said they were going to send us some pictures and they just kept not doing it. Yeah. And I called 3 different times. And honestly, to me, it was frustrating because it's like, no, we just hung out in the room. We did the same thing we pretty much always do in every room, and we've never been charged this. So what the fuck are they even trying to imply that we did?
Well, and I know, like, already in the last Biggie Comedy Venture podcast, Eric talked about this pretty extensively with Amy, so we don't have to get into all of the specifics again. Yep. But, we did, I feel like from our perspective, too, there's been pretty much an agreement at this point that it was bullshit. Like, there was nothing,
unless you wanted to send us more pictures, I'd say, to me, I looked at the 3 pictures that they finally ended up sending us. It was a little bit of a, like if you swept up a floor, a little bit of a pile. I would say no bigger than my hand.
Yeah.
There was some yellowish stuff on a mini fridge, which again, to me, my lord, those are mini fridges.
Could have been there, yeah.
Could have been anything. I don't really know. I have no reason to believe that.
Yeah, it's not a blue-green where you're breaking a seal.
Yeah. No, exactly. And then the microwave, she mentioned the sheets, never got a picture of those, and never mentioned the towel. Like, again, you're able to use these things. So that's you're able to use the towels. So unless like they literally were flossing their ass with these things or something.
And they had a table, so we weren't even eating in our beds.
Well,
like, that was a big thing for me too. Is like all of our meals were pretty much at that table or out front.
Well, and I can say personally too, like Tyler and I, we tend to do with it. Like there was one like basically twin size bunk bed and one queen size bed. So we would alternate between those. I'm not somebody who likes gross shit. Neither is like if one of us had dirtied up the bed to any significant degree, the other person like the next night would have been like, wait, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, like why is there shit all over the place?
Yeah.
Or whatever. But it was not the case.
It was completely. And my one other thing I would say about it that I don't think you covered on the other podcast that maybe you did, but it's really stuck in my mind that's worth mentioning is like we were there for 5 days. And, they had to clean one time. They got to charge somebody 5 days in like, so to that extent too, where it's like, oh, was it a little bit dirtier? I bet it was more so than for somebody who stayed 1 or 2 days.
Yeah. No, that is true. And I will say in the end, I personally am not someone, I mean, I don't know. I'm someone who would more likely just be like, yeah, I probably did something. I don't tend to think that I didn't do anything wrong. I could even see if they'd been like $25. We kind of had to run the sheets again. Yeah. I mean, whatever.
Honestly, I could have understood that.
I wouldn't have even said anything probably about it. I probably just would have been like, well, whatever. But $95. But $95 and the fact that she, with the conversations where she didn't send the photos of the sheets, for example. She sent the photos of these other things that she didn't even mention had the problem.
Yeah.
And I just didn't even, I could have gone back and forth with them more. And I would say KOAs are really awesome. Most of them have been really a great experience. The problem is they are independently owned. So you can't really go to corporate KOA. How convenient for them, but you can't go to corporate KOA to fight these things. So we
definitely
and
called.
I'm pretty sure what happened is that they almost saw that, wow, this guy is paying for it, but he's not on the room. He's not there.
Yep.
He will have a harder time fighting it and stuff. So I think that's kind of what happened. I probably could have done more to get the money back. I just, for reasons that I don't feel like getting into it, I kind of got in with Amy. It is what it is. I'm not happy about it, but we came to a conclusion, I guess. But, I mean, at least I bugged her enough that she finally had to send those photos, I guess. But I don't know. I should have bugged her a little more, probably. It is what it is. But that was the situation with that I came back to.
And then we got on to Knoxville.
And and so I did. So that was that. And then we were in Knoxville, for a few days.
We picked Eric up. We had to deal with that situation. But we were excited about going to the first comedy show we've done in a little while.
Yeah,
which was all right.
And it was interesting. It was they had a very cool stage. Not necessarily the biggest or most enthusiastic audience.
They did have a kick-ass stage.
I don't understand.
But they had a great stage.
I still don't understand the situation because there were people upstairs.
Yeah,
and they were laughing.
That is.
But
true.
I don't really know. I don't really know how many people or what it was like. We should have walked up there at one point and looked.
Honestly,
no, because that's the thing that's crazy is when you're on the stage, like the lights are so heavy that you're aware there's people upstairs because you can hear them sometimes, but you can't see anything.
Yeah.
You can't really do any crowd work with the people that are in the complete dark and above you because there was like a railing too.
Yeah.
So you couldn't see them at all.
But yeah, I would say we all had, and not even to say we all had pretty decent sets. It felt like kind of a dive bar show with a very nice
I definitely walked off some, let's say, huskier ladies with my, which honestly, it's such bullshit in my mind because I have a song called Red Flags and there's a part in it that's like talking about how women on Facebook or not Facebook, like Tinder or something, take a bunch of pictures above their face and they're liars. Like the joke is that you're a liar.
Which you found out later that night.
Yes, I did find
out.
Literally, I manifested this shit into my life. But yeah, so I have a joke saying the word fat. And they were like, there's a video that Scott took that essentially you hear them being like, well, fuck you. And all three of them left.
Which honestly, that they were the last sorts of people. You looked at them and they're the last people in the world you wanted at a comedy show.
Yeah.
So like, good on you for walking them off.
Yeah.
Like
They
nothing lost.
No, there was nothing lost. By the way, I forgot to mention, with that $95, remember, you can always help out the cause via the Venmo. Eric, ERIC, Fady, F as in Frank, ADIE. Or, on Cash App, you can 248-935-9241. You can text me if you want to help us out in any way and pay off that $95.
We also actually had a listener donate a decent amount of money recently, not like a ton, but like a nice donation to our Facebook account or whatever. And that was really awesome. Yeah.
Is that something I didn't know about?
The $100.
Oh, I didn't realize that was something else.
To our Facebook page.
No, I didn't see that.
You did.
You did. You responded to it.
Yeah.
You were the one who responded.
No. That person messaged just to ask about the Venmo. I mean, it's the same difference, but that was a Venmo. They were just trying to confirm the Venmo name.
Oh. Okay.
And I just was like saying, yes, that's it. Does that make sense?
No. When I'm talking about, what do you mean it's confirming the Venmo name? I'm confused.
Never mind. Let's move on.
We just had somebody donate some money to us, and that's really cool. Thank you for doing that. That's what I was saying.
Correct. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I mean later, because there's no
getting into that semantics right now. It's not the best.
So anyway, moving on from that, that show, and then these two people have. I mean, I guess you guys have both stories that you need to tell here.
I don't know. I will say I think Tyler's is the more entertaining story, so maybe I should go first.
Yeah,
because these happen simultaneously.
Yes, correct.
So yeah, imagine it's a real multiple viewpoints simultaneously, like time shifting sort of situation.
Correct.
So we were outside of a show. My story was we were standing outside of a comedy show, Eric and I. And this girl came up asking for like $3 to get into a bar next door because like they were only taking cash. She had her card, whatever. And I gave her $3. And then almost immediately, like, I don't know, she like Eric was there so he could confirm. Like, she was basically immediately just like, you're my type. Do you want to hang out? Like, what are you doing tonight?
Well, the money thing. If I had cash on me, what
would have happened? Yeah. What do you think would happen if that?
I don't know what would happen. Yeah. I don't know what would happen.
Somebody, the opportunity presented itself, and the man with the money got it.
Wait,
that's my mistake for not having cash on me.
I don't think that it would have changed anything.
What is that?
I said I don't think it would have changed anything.
You think this girl slept with me because I gave her $3?
No, I don't think that, but that opened the door.
Her coming up to me and asking me for it opened the door.
She asked me, she asked all of us there. She asked 3 of us that were standing there for money. She absolutely asked 3 of us standing there for money.
Yes, but I still would say, to the victor goes the spoils.
I know. I'm just kind of making a joke that if I'd had the money, who knows? Who knows how the butterfly effect would have gone? Who knows how the butterfly effect would have gone?
I just say, like, the fact is that you didn't.
No.
That's how it went.
But yes, I understand that. But it's just, I mean,
I'm still saying I fundamentally don't think that would have changed anything.
That's not even what I was getting at. Yes. But I was just making a mild joke that I would have given money. I didn't have the money. That's all I was saying. I was saying there's a lesson for that. I don't have cash. I never carry cash on me, and I finally.
But the lesson
you should always. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
You should always carry cash. That is a
this
good
is the only reason. This is the only reason I've discovered that I should have some cash on me. There's no other reason to have cash. Other than possibly a girl coming up to you in the middle of nowhere.
So anyway, so she was.
By the way, that's not what I was saying. I was just making a joke.
No, I
was just saying,
I was too. I was just, questioning it.
Rolling with it. So anyway, we ended up. I left probably more suddenly than I really realized at the time because Tyler also, and we'll get to his story, he had left to go on a date. To be fair, he had prepared for it. It was a thing we knew was going to happen or whatever.
You knew it was going to happen.
I didn't actually know. You didn't know that?
No,
okay. No. Okay, fair enough. Better for me. So anyway, that happened. And then I left with her and basically ended up being in a situation where we hung out for a while. We were drinking and she was like, do you want to do some cocaine? And I was like, yeah, why not? And
many reasons.
I mean, I would have done. I mean, in that situation, I would have done the same thing. So
yeah,
I've done cocaine from with random strangers before. So I mean,
so at this point, and she ended up, to be fair, she was like, I know the guy. Will you pay for it? It's $20. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. So I give her $20. She leaves, and immediately in my head,
I wouldn't have done that though. I will tell you that. No matter what, I don't think at this point money is a tighter issue for me at this point in my life.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I'm being very serious. If that was the same night, I don't think I would have done that. I would have been like, I would have found.
I will completely agree with that. That is one of the things that I think it's ridiculous.
Especially, yeah, that is a good point, by the way. But
if a girl wants to do cocaine with you, you're paying for it.
I just, but under the context of maybe you'll get the cocaine.
That's my thing. It's not like you're walking to get there. It's not like it's in her pocket. And she says, I bought this today. Yeah, if you throw in 20, we'll split it.
But this comes back to one of my fundamental principles that I know we've talked about before. If it worked out well, it was a good decision.
And which is a wrong principle.
Yes.
I've done many wrong decisions in my life that luckily have worked out.
Yes.
I'm just saying, luckily, in this situation
keyword
that we're in, by the way, too, I would say just throwing $20 at a stranger hoping they're going to go get cocaine.
Yes. It's a risky business.
I would not have done it. No matter what the situation. If we had switched routes, I wouldn't have done it. I would maybe walk with her. I maybe would have gone to an ATM and pulled out $20. I would have done something. I'm not saying I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, I would have been.
But I wouldn't have just thrown her 20 and going, I hope this works out.
Well, no. Well, this was the saving grace, though, is she left her purse. And I was like, okay, her purse is
But
here.
even that, I mean,
I guess it does more solidify that she's probably
back. That is probably true.
And also I've done enough drug deals. I know that, hey, I know these people. You don't come with me. It's a pretty common drug interaction.
That's fair. I will agree with that with drug stuff. If you don't know them, that's the issue with me.
Yeah. Well, so then she ends up getting it, and like she's like, do you have a key to do it off of or anything, like a house key? And I'm like, no, I don't. Like, I'm on the road.
Classy night.
Right. And she's like, okay, well, like we could do it in the bathroom. And I'm like, there's on the third floor, there's like those single bathrooms. And I'm like, so let's go into there. And she's like, a lot of people do cocaine here. If we go in there together, we're gonna get in trouble. Like, I've been here enough. I know this. So I'm like, okay. So she's like, how about, like, she goes, I'll go into the women's restroom. I'll come out. I'll give it to you. You go into the men's restroom, and then we'll hang out. I'm like, okay. So she goes into the women's restroom, and it gets to be like 5 minutes or so, and I'm kind of...
I think I would insist on going first, too, by the way. I think I would want the stuff first.
Going first would have been a good idea. That occurred to me the second she went to the bathroom.
I've been like, I should get first at this.
Yeah.
Because then at least you're guaranteed you get some of the coke.
And also, I'm not letting you judge what half is.
Yeah.
Like, I should be the
That's
one
another.
half.
But just more at least getting some level of the coke.
Yes.
That I just paid for.
Yes. Before you walk off with it.
I mean, I understand, what do you call it, chivalry and stuff. But when you're talking about doing cocaine in a bathroom, when you're talking about doing cocaine in a bathroom, I think you're allowed to do it first.
Jeez, sorry for being a gentleman in this cocaine situation.
Plus, it's 2022.
You were not.
What is the whole feminist movement about? If not that you should be able, you bought the coke, you should be able to do the coke first.
Right. Oh my god. Yeah. So but instead of getting into some sort of a men's rights rant with her, I let her go into the bathroom. And
you should have.
So it got to be like 5 minutes or so. I started being a little bit worried. Then she came out and she gives me the other half. She goes, hey, like, she goes, I'm talking, like, there was some sort of, not surprisingly, when cocaine is involved, it's 12 o'clock at a club, some sort of girl drama going on in the bathroom.
Right.
And so she
drugs
comes out,
usually are done by very
reputable
with it together people. People doing cocaine on a Wednesday night in a bar are definitely on their way to sell their new business idea.
So she hands me the cocaine. She goes back into the women's bathroom. I go do it in the men's bathroom. And then I come out and another like 5 minutes or so passes. And I'm not going to lie, I even kind of walked by the women's bathroom door and kind of hit it open. And I'm like, I don't see her in there. Like, I don't. I think maybe like so I'm thinking all this in my head. Then I'm sitting down, I'm like kind of in the area waiting. And this comic who I'd seen earlier, who had seen me hanging out with that girl, he goes, "Hey, where's that girl you were hanging out with?" And I was like, I told him the situation. I just laid it out. I was like, dude, we bought cocaine, like whatever. And he goes, the women's bathroom is right next to the exit. and I'm like, but she gave me the cocaine, so I don't think she was trying to scare me. And
no, she still got a hit, though. I mean,
well, no, that was exactly. He goes, so she gave you half of your shit?
Yeah.
And like, I went, oh fuck, like, and so at that point, I was about ready to call an Uber. Like, I went outside and I talked to. Thankfully, this comic was cool as fuck. He went outside, he smoked a cigarette with me, we chatted. I was kind of like, okay, so like, what do you think happened? Because I'm gonna end up telling this story or whatever. And he's like, yeah, I think she gave you half of your shit and she left because she wanted the cocaine. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And I'm getting ready to call an Uber. He leaves. I walk back in, and then like she sees me and she's like, hey, there you are, blah blah blah. And so then like we ended up hanging out the rest of the night. We got a hotel room.
Oh, who paid for that?
Me.
Where'd you say?
Wait,
I'll think about that the next time. Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I mean,
okay. Special circumstances require special accommodations.
Okay. We'll remember that. I'm just. I mean. So, no, I will tell him on his end. I have made it very clear from the beginning that this stuff can't happen in the room that I'm paying for.
No, that's the thing. Yeah, what am I supposed to do?
No,
I know. On the sidewalk?
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time. I made a big deal.
Yeah.
I made the point saying that. So no, you had to do that. You did what you had to do. No, I would have done the same thing.
Yeah, because
I promise you that.
because that's the thing. It's like bring her back to the hotel room, not an option. Try to bring her to the van, not an option.
Where does she live?
Okay, so she lives in Washington, D.C., and she was with, like, family for the week, essentially.
Gotcha.
That's her story. I mean, I don't know.
Right.
What she said.
Yeah.
And so we get there. I mean, and we get to this place at, like, I mean, it's like 3:30 in the morning at this point.
I still question, like you said, there was nothing around there to me. Like, I still, like, my cheapness would have still been, like, I could get an Uber a little out of town to somewhere. Because, I mean, and get a cheaper hotel. Like, that's how my thought would still go.
Dude, yeah, I'd definitely be thinking cheaper than what'd you go, Holiday Inn?
No, it's a Hilton.
It's a Hilton.
No.
See, that's why I was making that statement.
We're getting a place with a fucking mirror on the ceiling. We're going to be here for however long we're here. And I'm getting out.
Okay, now imagine this situation, though. I'm drunk. I'm high on cocaine. I want to fuck. My phone's at like 5%.
Is that okay? So
what am I gonna? I'm gonna try to arrange.
And this is
a
lesson
start
for
doing
you.
Research on maps.
This is a really good big lesson for both. You guys both have phone battery issues that have regularly affected you guys.
Definitely need to.
I would say like
have better keep a charger on me at all times.
Like those are the reasons that I always make sure my phone's at very high when we go out. Because it's like I always have those thoughts in my head of like if I have to go somewhere or do something after this, I mean for real, that's just thoughts I have.
And I was so mad too because I bought a charger and a block
too late though anyway.
Hilton, and it didn't work.
But it was also too late because by the time you bought the charger, you'd already made the decision. You know what I mean? Like having the phone charged going into the evening would have left options open.
That's fair. That's
what I was getting at.
Yeah, yes. You're not wrong about that.
These are all, I will say this on my end. I've done all of this shit before. These are all just lessons. This is the difference between being 38 and 32. I think that's it. Because I've done all of this shit before, but I think that like I have started to like become a little. Just little things like having my phone ready to go.
I have my phone charged just for the record.
Without getting into the weeds in it. I keep my phone charged all the fucking time. My problem is I have a shit battery.
Yeah.
I think I probably went in.
The only thing I would say,
if there's one person who obsessively charges their phone out of the three of us, is this guy.
Yes, but keep it with you at all times if your phone's shitty.
Yeah,
that's exactly that would be my thing. I would always have a cheap charger with me in my pocket.
Exactly, just in case.
Like when you're at these clubs, you could be charged. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
I have a mobile battery too. That'd probably even be a. I don't think I pulled it out of my backpack
like a charger,
time.
An extra charger.
Oh, see, exactly. There you go.
Yeah, I know.
Definitely should have had that.
I'm just saying, like, one of the reasons in my past, I've learned to have that full battery or make sure my battery charges because then when crazy shenanigans start happening, you can do more stuff with your phone.
Prepared.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I ended up sending the group chat, I think at like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I'm going to be back sometime in the afternoon. I'm fine, blah, blah, blah. Phone dies. And then I came back the next morning and, we kind of, the next, okay, to be fair, this Hilton, without even asking, gave us a 1:30 checkout. And like, not that that's an excuse, but like,
okay.
But we were up very late.
We did the podcast that next day.
We were up very late. Well, we have not done the podcast because there was a college basketball game on.
No, that's not true. Not true. Not true. I mean, no, I'm just kidding.
Or we changed the time.
I'm being an asshole.
No, I know.
I'm being an asshole. But what I am doing is pointing out some of these time frame things.
Yes. Yes.
No, we wouldn't have done it anyway that next day, to be honest with you. There were in general, it wouldn't have mattered. We'll get it. It's obvious I have a little testiness to this, so I'll just say that I was quite upset with the situation. I got left by myself in the end, and I didn't really feel good about that. So my point is, we would not have, even if you'd got back at 11 a.m., I really believe that day would have been a kind of fucked day. Through my own shit myself, own feelings I had. So honestly, that wouldn't have mattered anyway. I was being kind of an asshole there.
Yeah.
But I also should point out that it's obvious that based on how I've been talking, I was not really happy about being left alone. We all talked about it. It took a little time to get over, but honestly, I think that we have moved past it. I feel good about it now. I'm just being taken. This is my last chance to be a little diggy on it. But it's funny for the podcast, in my opinion. But but he is right. We have moved things around for my sports schedule. Although I am the wealthy benefactor in this trio, so I think I'm allowed a little more so on the scheduling leeway. But
yeah. No, and the thing I kind of fell back on with that I think we all kind of agreed on is that like I shouldn't have left in the middle of the conference.
That's basically all I really was mad about.
Yeah.
And afterwards, basically, we talked about it, and basically, I've said basically twice, and I hate saying the same words a few times in a row, but we came to a kind of just an understanding that going forward, at least basically two of us, God, I almost said it 3 times, should be at the show. I was mainly just mad that I'm like, dude, now I'm sitting at the show by myself.
Yeah.
While 2 people, and I didn't know, and Tyler had told Scott, but he didn't tell me. And it's not a big deal, but I didn't know that either. So I did not go into the night knowing that Tyler was leaving. Now, having said that, you did. But and that's where most of my anger came from. Having said that, we talked about it. We've been on the road 4 months. This was by far the biggest situation we've had amongst each other. And, it is what it is. I think that some of my thoughts were not warranted necessarily. I think I was more mad than I should have been, probably. Whatever. Take that for what it is.
And you acknowledge some of that. And I acknowledge, like I should have stayed for the comedy show. I should have. I'm sure it was obnoxious, too, that, like, I've been pushing so hard for, like, why aren't we doing more stand-up? Why aren't we doing more?
Right.
And granted, we all did get on stage that night. But it's like, should have stayed till the end of the show.
But we found that because I stayed to the end of the show. And that's the thing that, my thing is staying to the that Thursday came to me from me staying and talking to people.
Okay, to be fair, not to get to the weeds, I knew about that show because I also talked.
But when did you know about it though?
That night. Because I talked to a comic too who told me about the eBay Lounge.
But that might not have happened though. That's not a guarantee. That's not a guarantee that if you left, you would have hung around. That left because that girl went to the bathroom for a while or something, and you were talking to him outside thinking it was over. Yeah. If that had not gone that way, that conversation might not have gone that way.
Yeah. And yet it did. But
true.
Nonetheless.
I've done a lot of things in my life that I should not have done. And that I would go back and I would probably not do them. But
yeah, no, and it made for like, we kind of talked about ways that it'll be handled differently.
Yeah, for sure. But I only brought that up near the end because I think it was like I had to mention the obvious part that I was being a little testy about some of the story. And I had to mention that it did anger me, but it's all right. Again, though, having said that, for this long of a trip to go that long without having something on this level, like Tyler, me and Tyler were talking one day, and Tyler literally thought there'd be points in this trip where we'd be screaming at each other. And that didn't even happen there.
No.
So, I mean, it's never reached that level. It's not shocking that 3 dudes who are not being paid to do the trip, they're not having things set up for us that are, it's much different than even if we were just on a comedy tour to me. Like if we were just on a comedy tour where we were signed in some way and like, oh, we knew we were going to be at these clubs and stuff, it'd be different. Because in my mind, I'd kind of be like, okay, I mean, it is what it is, but, we got our money tonight and we have another place next weekend.
Yeah.
And I also said, if I had been 22 on this trip, after I'd found out that you both were gone, I would have walked over to the bar next to us and got shit-faced myself and just listened to the band and had fun. But I'm 38. I don't do that as much. I'm a little more responsible with money and some of that, and just some of these aspects that don't lead to that.
Yeah.
If we had been younger, I don't think I would have been a little bit like, that kind of sucks. But whatever, here's a bar next here. I'll go just shitty myself and it'll be fun.
Or also, like you had mentioned too, if it could have just blown over where we're not constantly around each other, to where it's like, okay, the very next day we have a ton of things we have to do.
No, for sure. And the reality is, if we'd been on if we'd just been on a vacation even or something, or if it was just like a week, like, we're just going down to Knoxville for a week. We heard it's a good comedy scene. It would not. There's just a lot of the aspects coming on the road that probably surface there. Anyway.
Okay, so Tyler, your night.
My night.
I do wish, like Scott made a good point. I do wish in a movie, this is these things where if you could have like the 3 screens.
Yeah.
See. Now, having said that, my screen would look a little. I wouldn't look too good because I was kind of mad for a while, but like it'd be funny to see. But with the clock
punching the steering wheel.
Yeah. I didn't punch the steering wheel, but but anyway, but simultaneously, Tyler has a
terrible
actually
experience.
A little more of a crazy story, believe it or not. The craziness amongst normally that story that Scott just said would be enough to really end the podcast on to me.
Yeah, absolutely. That is not the case. I was talking to this girl. Sometimes, on this, we all kind of use dating apps and stuff and like try to meet people. And most of the time, one thing I've learned from this is tell them to meet you somewhere specific and go there late. And show up late and make sure they are who they say they are, because this woman was 38 years old. She told me she was 29. She told me she was shorter than me, and she was sending me pictures from high school, and she was huge. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not
in height as well as size.
And height and as well as size. And so she completely lied to me. I got straight catfished by this woman. I
just can never imagine what they think is going to happen when you see them.
When I see them, disappointment, because that's what happened on my face. I know for a fact. I went, oh, and like she saw me do it. And
but how could you not think that was going to happen? I don't know I don't know if people like that. Unfortunately, I don't know if they're very, very depressed. I don't know what their life.
I think that it's gonna go. Maybe he's nice enough to just let it slide, or whatever.
Or maybe we'll start drinking and he'll loosen up.
Yeah, I can understand not seeing that person and just straight catfishing. Makeup.
No, that's the thing. Yeah, be like, whoops, I can't meet up. Sorry, changing my plans.
Yes, exactly.
Minute.
Do it a bunch of times, and then it's like, okay, maybe whatever. But I go, I meet this girl. She had offered me weed for some of my art. And I was like, okay, yeah, hell yeah. I'll, go on this date and get some weed and it'll be a great night. I was like so excited. Right. And then I see her and I'm like, oh no, like this is not. And she's terrible. She's the worst. I'm not to try to be like shitty towards somebody, but you lied to me. And then you get
on several accounts.
Yes.
Sending pictures of herself from 15 years ago.
Yes. And also had like pictures, all of her makeup up and looking like nice and all this shit. And then one of the first things she says to me is, I don't wear makeup anymore. And I'm like, well, okay, I'm not telling you to, but why did you see? Right. Why did I see all your pictures?
And if you're catfishing somebody, fucking cake that shit on.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, no, I agree. It could have been if she had, make up her jowls.
Yeah.
It's such a terrible thing. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to fat shame. I don't care if you are. I literally have a song about this that like, I don't care if you are. Just don't lie to me. Yeah. You just have to let me know what's going on. And she didn't. And the entire night I was like, I want this weed. I do want the weed, but I am not touching her. I'm not getting involved. She lied to me. I'm just pissed. I'm irritated and I don't want to do this. But she kept being like, well, we can go back to my car to get it. And I'm like, okay, here's the art. Like, we're at your car. Can we get it? And she's like, well, how about we just like go get some food, smoke a little, and then like we'll be done hanging out or whatever. And then we eat. And she's like, well, why don't we go back to my place and then we'll smoke. And we finally get there. And honestly, the whole night I'm trying to avoid telling her where I'm going to be, what's going on in
Knoxville.
Knoxville.
About the podcast, remember? Like,
yeah, because I was like, oh yeah, me and my
slipped
friends.
up for a split second.
Yes, and was like, I'm gonna do this podcast, or I do this podcast, and she's like, oh my God, like I totally will be your new fan. What is it? And I literally silence. Just man, it's raining pretty hard outside.
Oh my God!
She just and it just like. No, nothing.
I
and
really
then just kept the conversation.
Do you want to know more about like this girl in a way? No, but in a sense of like, I feel bad. I actually feel really, even though she lied to you, even though like I'm one of these people, like I feel bad in the sense that she must have such a rough situation to me. Yeah. That this is how she feels. She has to try to get a date, maybe. Yes. And so like I just wonder, like even when you said it, I'd love to know really where her head went.
What
Did
were
it go
you
like,
thinking?
well, why didn't he mention it?
Because I was even trying to, because beforehand, when you're texting with somebody and you might meet up, sometimes people be sexual, and she was being sexual, and I'm not going to cower to that. I was like, maybe it could happen. Maybe we fuck tonight. Right, and then I definitely, when I found out, started retracting that and being like, oh, you know how I'm on when I text, I'm a little more sexually aggressive. I'm not really like that whole like
that's my online persona.
Yeah, I don't really do one night stand. That's just not me. That's not who I am. Bullshit. That is nonsense and bullshit. And I totally would have if I was in that situation with somebody that didn't lie to me. But she was, so I kept trying to like be like, no, I'm maybe we could just be friends and see what that would lead to or whatever.
Friends, as if you as by the way, you very clearly are on Tinder, and your thing says you're in town for the week, like a few days or something.
Exactly.
And like you would want to be friends with somebody who your first experience with them was them catfishing you.
They lied to me.
Well, and I feel like one thing that's probably an important factor to mention in this, to give it context, is like, I don't know, we've kind of touched on this a little bit before. You are a daily weed smoker, and we have been in an area where it is illegal or medicinal for quite a long time.
Yes.
So in any other situation, it would have been that big of a deal.
I would have bailed. I would have found a way to be like, oh, the guys are like blah, blah, blah.
10 different people you can call in Michigan.
Yes. I even tried to get out of it. I did go into a bar specifically because she wanted to eat downtown, and I'm like, I don't want to be seen in public with you. Oh my God. Sorry, but like I just don't want to.
Go somewhere shadowy.
Yes, and I did see a shadowy place with an exit sign at the back. And I was like, oh, maybe I could get out of here.
Now, what's also ironic, by the way, is I did say this to Tyler. If we were in the 3 panels, was in kind of a bad mood. Yep. And I didn't want to call Tyler and like, because I thought, you know what? He's got something going. He did. In the end, it sounded like he had this plan. Like I knew at least you were talking to this girl. I didn't know you were going to leave that night, but I knew you had talked to her. And I heard her that maybe you were going to hang out. I just didn't realize the plan was as soon as our sets were done.
Yeah.
But whatever. But my point is, I was in my mood, and I didn't want to call and ruin your thing.
Yeah.
But ironically, it would have been wanted and appreciated it.
Yes, to get out of that situation.
I thought about calling, like, hey, man, just wanted to see how, like,
what are you doing? How's it going?
Where are you at? Like, do you need me to wait or something? Or
And
I'd be like, no,
wish you would have, and I know why you wouldn't have, and I totally agree with not doing it, but I was trying to get out of that situation. But there was this thread of weed, and I, like Scott said, had been on a drought and that shit. And so we go back to her place. She actually wanted to watch one of my favorite movies, Kiki's Delivery Service. And I'm like, okay, like, let's smoke some weed. Let's watch this, one of my favorite movies. I'm not going to touch you. I'm going to do this the whole time and lean away. But like, I'm going to watch this movie. And I was doing that.
Doing this, you're saying crossing your arms.
To the listeners, crossing my arms and leaning away as a stiff board. And
planking on this
and
thing.
I'm planking on this
thing. Hey, give them those ab workouts.
Yeah, you got to work out a little bit while you're on a catfish date.
She definitely could do a little planking from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, she didn't want to. She wanted to snuggle up.
Would it be planking though? If you put your arms on the thing and she'd just be, her stomach would just be holding her up, right? Is that really? Do you think she could plank?
I don't think so. Okay. No, I think she would.
Of course,
I think she would pass out.
More like a teeter tot.
Right.
Let's not ship that shame. Okay, let's not that shame.
I'm sorry.
So we start watching it, and she says to me, honestly, I hate it so much. It's such a sad thing. Can I get some physical affection?
Jesus Christ!
And I go, yeah. you can lean on me. And she leans on me. I'm there just cross-armed and stiff and just, I don't want to be here for about 2 minutes.
Where did she think the leaning was going to go to?
My arm around her, or like trying to fuck around with my leg or something. Because honestly, it was getting to that point where she was moving her. Like, I was there for like 2 minutes and she was trying to move in.
She's moving in.
Yes. Yeah. And I was like, I have to go to the bathroom. And she was up, her room was upstairs. And I grabbed my shoes and I went to the back door and I jumped her fence and ordered an Uber and got home. And I did get 2 buds, but that's it. It was the most expensive 2 buds I've ever experienced.
When did she text you, where are you?
She, honestly, 10 minutes after I left. It was like, she goes, where are you? Sad face, and then blocked her. Oh my God. But in my head, I tried to justify it as she was home. I didn't leave her at a bar somewhere. I wasn't that person just trying to make her look even sadder than she was trying to be.
You got a meal. Yeah. You bought her a very respectful Waffle House meal.
She definitely got a meal out of it. So it wasn't insanely cheap for me that evening.
Right. And an piece of your art.
Yes, which is $50 because I gave her one of my originals.
Bandit, like a hamburglar.
Sorry. What an apt analogy.
A hamburglar is very accurate to what I got. I got hamburgered.
I'm sorry. We love our fat listeners.
Yeah. We love you all. I don't have an issue with it. Just don't fucking lie to me. That's I can even be into you, but I need to know if I'm attracted to you or not. That matters. That fucking matters.
You should be attracted to anything at all times.
No.
Sex,
no.
height, weight, doesn't matter.
I have preferences.
How dare you? Honestly, this is 2022.
I would say bigger women can fit into that preference.
We're canceled now because of that. Preferences sexually. Yeah. That's absurd.
It's what I
don't even know if I want to be on the show anymore. I'm just kidding.
I'm not trying to fuck you.
Again, even more so. Look at that. So what are you, a homophobe? Yep. You don't want to fuck me? You homophobe. Wow.
Nonetheless, though,
problematic.
I do think it is important to reiterate with all of the shitting on her and everything. It really comes down to you were lied to, and it put you in an awful position.
Several times, by the way.
Yes.
She sent pictures via text that were 15, 20 years old.
Yeah.
She said, even the weight. Okay, I understand it must be a harder person but dude, she even told you how her height. And it's and that was wrong.
That honestly pisses me off just because I'm a short dude. So it's if you say you're shorter than me, I'm kind of a little bit excited about that because it's kind of rare. And it's I don't mind tall women. I've definitely dated women that are taller than me because it's kind of hard to find someone under that spectrum. But if I'm under the impression that you are, I'm thinking you're short, completely skinny, but a thicker girl that I'd be into. And then I see you and you're taller than me. And you're older than me. Emphasis on the old and way her picture just was way heavier than she was making it out to be.
And refusing to wear makeup is just the icing on the cake. Because if you're lying about all of this other stuff, at least be well, I need to make myself look as much as the pictures.
And really using weed as a fucking
just a carrot on a stick, man. Trying to lure me back to her house. And then honestly, I got the fuck out of there.
And then I'm just gonna kind of not to be this isn't a great segue, but I'm just gonna kind of leave it there. Those stories got basically the whole lot. I was gonna say our rest of our time in Knoxville, after kind of the next day, which was kind of a weird day for all of us, dealing with kind of some of my issues from the evening before, Tyler being super tired from getting home late. Same with Scott or whatever. Yeah. We didn't end up doing a podcast, that we kind of were planning on doing, but we did end up doing comedy at this really interesting place. There was a vape shop. For one, it was a vape shop with a bar.
Yeah, in the back of it.
Bizarre.
It's very weird.
And two, it's something we've learned on this trip that's so weird about these open mics is that we're in a situation where we do the best we can. We look at Facebook pages. We call up even. And we looked at 2 separate things that said, sign up is 6:30, I say, for example. Shows at 7. And we called and even made sure. So we're and we were all kind of tired. And I remember they said shows at 7, sign up starts at 6:30. And we kind of tried to be late this time, not because we didn't want to do the show, but we were all kind of tired. And we kind of said, hey, if we get to do comedy, that'd be great. I don't want to show up an hour ahead of time for a comedy show. We're all kind of in a weird mood. And in the end, we showed up what we thought was late, and we were still 45 minutes early, or an hour early.
These open mics don't tell you shit. They do not know when the show's gonna start.
And I feel like too, like you brushed over a little bit. You're like, yeah, Tyler was tired. I don't know if you know this about cocaine. Famously, you don't sleep on it.
No, I thought I said that you were tired.
No. I know. I was extremely fucking tired. Like, I remember us getting to that show and me being like, walking into the party store next door and being like, what do you have that's more powerful than like a Red Bull? Like, is there anything?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Do you have cocaine?
Right. Do you have cocaine? So,
that is how you gotta keep it rolling. Just like with alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, you never get a hangover if you don't stop.
Yeah. If you never stop, then you don't ever get tired.
Exactly. That's how it works.
Yep. No. But but we ended up. It was a good show, though.
Well, I was gonna say also, it kind of led to this weird moment where, again, we all kind of had been dealing with this thing from the night before, but like we did want to do comedy once we were there. But then like it was an hour wait and we're just sitting there and I forgot to kind of eat because we'd all taken naps before. I woke these guys up falling out of a nap. I was in a zone.
Dead sleep.
Right.
I was going to say out of a coma.
And so we ended up like in this weird situation, ended up finding like this place to like vacuum the van out. And then one of the nicest Taco Bells I've ever been to in my life. This Taco Bell had this like really nice the stone patio, and you could look out at these little kind of Tennessee mountains and stuff.
Oh, it was beautiful for a Taco Bell, for sure. It was a nice little setup.
And then the show did end up going really well for all of us.
Eric got to hold my mic.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That was a hell of an experience. It was fun. I love that I got to use it to riff on it a little, and like he did a good job. He was a good mic stand.
Yeah, there was no mic stand, so Eric had to hold the mic for you.
Yeah, they didn't have a mic stand, so I had to sit there and hold it. Which you think that because of all the obvious jerk off jokes that I would have a more steady right hand, but it's harder to hold a mic like that for that long.
He definitely would sometimes just lower it and then have to change hands.
Yeah, for sure. But you did 2 songs in the end too, you son of a bitch. No, I'm just kidding.
And it's one of those, I think everybody misjudges how long they can hold their arm in that position.
No,
you never do it. Yeah,
just hold your hand out like that, and like kind of get in that area, and
have a little weight. Like honestly, it's not even like this is hard. Holding your hand out for a long time is hard.
Correct. Yeah. So what I'm going to do, by the way, is I know in the end we said we're going to get to Louisville. I think that how I shows structure in a certain way, I think that's so much on one topic that I don't want to jump into another topic. Sure. I'm going to leave it there. What I am going to say is a little bit of a tease is that I'm going to be recording another podcast tonight. And if you listen to the podcast, it's, this won't affect you in that way. But I have now done a very good job on this trip up until the last week. I famously in my life have lost my wallet many, many times. And I'll say that I lost my wallet twice in the last week. One of them, and one of them is a really crazy story that I'm going to be talking about with Amy on my Big E Comedy Venture podcast that I'm going to be recording here in about an hour. We'll talk about it also, but that is something that you should, if you're sitting around, if you don't listen to the Big E Comedy Venture show that I do with Amy more often, because you're more of a fan of this show, I'd really appreciate you checking it out. I think it's a good show, and we're going to, like I said, talk about a crazy wall experience I had. But I'm going to end that here because I think we were going to get into Louisville, but I feel like that was a long topic, and it was worth it. It was worth going into those details. I don't want to rush through Louisville based on that. So, also, Scott, someone did reach out for Scott and paid for a tarot card reading. Yes. So he and we really appreciate that. So for people that don't know, that's out there. I don't have my hat on right now, but just a reminder, I am selling a few of my Big E Comedy Venture hats, $25. Can guarantee you a hat up to 3. I'm selling 3, and I'm giving a few away via a raffle. If you want to give $10. And Tyler does do art, not just for catfish dates, but for real life.
Yeah, very much so. Check those out. They're 8x10 prints of any of my stuff. I put a weekly picture on our page, or just check out my page, Tyler Charles, on Facebook, and any of those pieces you can get a print of. But
the hats, the drawings, and the tarot card readings are at least something that you can maybe help support the trip, but also get a little something back versus just yourself. Venmoing us some money, which also is accepted. All right, again, because I will do it for this week of this episode and stuff. Anyway, I don't know. I had a weird ending. Bye.
Bye.
See you later.